Okay, so it's Kisos is my personal. Hey Miller Place is my. Hi Levi. We're going to do music in a little bit, but I'm starting with a new business stream. Okay, so anyway, we're gonna do different stuff every week. Like I was saying, if you were at the podcast earlier, this week's kind of more about brand positioning and just figuring out how to even find the right places to pitch yourself to in the first place. And then next week we'll be talking about Spotify playlists and pitching those. And something else I forgot about. Hi, Vid girl. Sorry, I didn't mean to like come off rude. I just meant I don't really know a lot of tech things. I do not. So I'm sorry if it came off that way, because after I said it like that, I was like, ugh. Anyway, hi, ice cream. So, yes, if you're interested in learning more, or if you have a question, put it right in here. And this goes for anyone. This isn't just for music. It's going to have a lot of music examples, but you can use this for any type of art, or even just pitching yourself to brands and, stuff to get sponsored on Twitch. So anyway, if you have a question, just do exclamation Q, super simple, and then fill it out in that form just so I don't miss it. You can ask questions in chat, but I just might miss stuff. Okay, beautiful. So, people spend so much money on their music, but they don't think about how they're gonna get it heard after. They don't think about all the little details. They have their music, they have their photos, they have their website, but that's not what's gonna get your music discovered. That's not what's gonna get people to pay attention to you. So this video has always stuck with me. Submit to communism. Okay, no problem, Franzi. This video has always stuck with me. It's by Simon Sinek, and he's basically talking about how Apple set themselves apart in the tech landscape compared to any other, computer company. If we just say that they sell computers, how did they get so popular, and Dell and Acer and all these other individual brands didn't? I mean, I guess that's part of Microsoft's too, whatever. I don't know things about computers. I told you, vid girl. See, I don't know nothing. But it's something. I'm just gonna play a small clip here.
The way we think, the way we act, the way we communicate is from the outside in. It's obvious. We go from the clearest thing to the fuzziest thing.
So what he's talking about by outside in right here is, I can't full screen from here. What he's talking about outside in is going from what, how, and why. So when we describe ourselves, or most companies when they describe themselves, they say, we're a law firm and we're great because of this. But what Apple does is kind of reverse that equation. And that really intrigues us because it's a different kind of story.
Regardless of their size, regardless of their industry, all think, act, and communicate from the inside out. Let me give you an example. I use Apple because they're easy to understand and everybody gets it. If Apple were like everyone else, a marketing message from them might sound like this. We make great computers. They're beautifully designed, simple to use, and user-friendly. Want to buy one? Meh. And that's how most of us communicate. That's how most marketing is done, that's how most sales is done, and that's how most of us communicate interpersonally. We say what we do, we say how we're different or how we're better, and we expect some sort of behavior, a purchase, a vote, something like that. Here's our new law firm. We have the best lawyers with the biggest clients. We have, we always perform for our clients, do business with us. Here's our new car. It gets great gas mileage. It has, leather seats. Buy our car. But it's uninspiring. Here's how Apple actually communicates. Everything we do, we believe in challenging the status quo. We believe in thinking differently. The way we challenge the status quo is by making our products beautifully designed, simple to use, and user-friendly. We just happen to make great computers. Want to buy one?
Want to buy one? So that's something that I think about a lot. I mean, it's not a perfect science of always starting with the why. During the podcast, we were talking about how, sometimes the why can just be, it's just like get to the point already, like what do you want from me, especially in a pitch. But just in terms of how you're branding yourself, how you're talking about yourself online, and the story that you're telling, you need to make sure that there is that why, that it's strong, and how. Like, how are you different? Why are you doing it? So just the basic bullet points over here these are kind of the things that you need to have. Social consistency and positioning. We're going to dive into each of these. There's like a slide for each, and then we'll be done and can do more Q&A too. So social consistency and positioning, a press release, an updated bio, because sometimes you'll have a bio, but then, you have to make sure that it reflects everything that you've done since you last wrote it. Lyrics to your song are important. A lot of places want the lyrics because just so they can really understand the song, because sometimes you don't know what someone is saying. The pitch, of course, is super important, and then researching the targets. So that's what we're going to go over right now. And I used myself as an example, yes. So consistency and branding, what sites are you on? Because there are a ton. I won't say you have to be on all of them, because if you don't use Facebook, then you don't need to be on Facebook. Although I will say that Twitter is probably a must-have, because that's where most people will tag you. That's where most people are getting engagement. That's where it's easiest to share messages. Instagram, a lot of times these outlets won't post you on Instagram, maybe in a story. I would say having a Facebook and Twitter is important. You don't need to have like Pinterest. You don't need to have a Snapchat. If you want to, great. But I would say, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram are kind of the most important. SoundCloud, you do need to have, because you need to have a way that people can stream it. Like journalists can stream it without having to, like if they don't subscribe to Spotify, they're only gonna be able to listen to 30 seconds of your track. And also SoundCloud is how you can send an unreleased, hi Raga. SoundCloud is how you can send an unreleased link, like a private link that you wouldn't be able to. You could do it on YouTube too, but SoundCloud's that's just the status quo. So I say go with it. So we were talking about this, and you can see it here. You see in like the pictures, I have the same picture, same picture, same picture, same picture, same picture, same picture. Anna Wing's one of my clients who just released a track called Ritual. Thompson Newkirk, I just did some quick consulting for him. We're gonna learn something from each of these right now. So we need to make sure, thank you Raga, we need to make sure that on every site that we are on, that it matches every other site that we are on. You need to have, if one of your tweets ever goes viral, that too. Although I do say in that case, plug like Spotify or something, because then you'll make money. SoundCloud is free, but whatever. Hi Passion Pit, how are you? Welcome, welcome. We're talking about music marketing, but also any kind of marketing. Okay, so you can see here. Good, we all have the same picture. This is just quick screen grabs I took from, there is a small truth there. There is. I've seen somebody who posted like a video clip and their SoundCloud link, and they like actually got a lot of retweets. People were like, whoa, this is dope. It got like a ton of retweets and likes. But so you can see this is just basic stuff, but it's stuff that a lot of people don't think about. You want to make sure that your pictures match across your social media. They all do. Beautiful. You want to make sure that your bios match across all social media. So, okay, as much as they can. Sometimes there's character limits or whatever. Perez! Oh my gosh, I've been thinking about you so much. You literally have no idea. It is so nice to see your name. How are you? Oh, you're liking another stream too? Oh, thank you, Passion Pit. That's so sweet. Thank you for your support. And your time. Hi, Mr. Oh my god, James, I'm so sorry I missed your message. I feel like I've been missing your messages more lately. I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. I did see you at the podcast, James, as well. Thank you so much for sticking around. Okay, so we also want to make sure we have links. So you can see I link my official website because that has all my social links on it and my email list. That's my personal reasoning. You don't have to link your official site, but link something that will make it so they can find you in multiple places. You can see this artist here in her Twitter, she actually has linked a previous song. This isn't her new song. I need to yell at her. But she does have her SoundCloud here. And then Thompson Newkirk, you can also see that it has, similar, very similar, in professional mode, it's fine. It's very similar bios. So music to break your heart and heal your soul, music to break your heart and heal your soul. I just added more graphics on Instagram. And Anna's, I like to make noise. And Thompson Newkirk is where things get a little bit iffy. You can see it says, Roots rocker Thompson Newkirk releases Cry, an emotional song that follows to people's lives. That doesn't make sense. But believe me when I tell you, it was worse before. I haven't actually checked. Basically what I did for Thompson was kind of just basically give him this type of presentation. I didn't do anything specifically for him. So he did make his pictures the same. his bio on Twitter didn't used to mention anything about music. It used to say he's an actor, which he is as well. But so you can see here, roots rocker. His thing here doesn't quite make sense. There is some story there. I threw shade at my whole family. Wait, I saw your comment, but I didn't know what you were saying, and I didn't want to interrupt during the podcast. What did you mean, Raga? Oh, right. When I said that my family had no musical talent. He does have his website linked here, but then in the Instagram, it says, okay, he's promoting his new single, but he has this link here. I don't know why. And then he has the link again. There's no need for him to have the link here. It's just showing that, you know, there's optimizations that can be had here. Also, we want to look at how are you talking about yourself, because we want to leave a lasting impression that turns someone who's just randomly clicking onto you. You know, if someone retweets your tweet and they're like, oh, who's this person? They go look at you and it doesn't say anything and your tweets are boring. My tweets are boring, but at least I have something in my bio that maybe will attract someone to stick around. So that's why I really like the idea of like a tagline, something interesting. And going back to the video we watched, something that's more of a why. It can incorporate the what. It probably should, because you only have like one line. You want this to be short, but you want it to have an emotional appeal. You want it to be interesting. So that's why mine is music to break your heart and heal your soul, because it's like, oh, it's sad music, but it's also like uplifting. Oh, I'm interested. What's that? Let me click on his Twitch, or let me look at the more links. Oh, he has a new song coming out. Something like that. Anna's is, I like to make noise. It's kind of cute. It's not just saying musician. It's not just saying synth musician. It's like, I like to make noise. It's a little bit more edgy. I think you could do more with it. Or she could just say a little bit more about herself after that. And then with Thompson, it is nice that he says like roots rocker. He's talking about his song, an emotional song that follows people's lives, but there's typos. There's kind of interesting punctuations and stuff there, where it just doesn't give you the impression that he spent the time to really think about it. If you're gonna write something basic, at least make sure there's no typos, no grammar errors, something like that. But yeah, it is nice that he mentions, you know, it's an emotional song that follows people's lives. It's kind of vague. It would be nice if there was something more specific that he could pull out of there, like follows the, I mean, this is kind of cliche, but you know, the ups and downs, or the daily struggles of people's lives, or, you know, the struggles we can all relate to. Something with a we also, instead of just like I or you. Again, nothing wrong with I like to make noise, but it's also nice when you can immediately make the person feel included in your story and what you're selling. If you have questions, feel free to put them in any time. I'm going to check those Q&A ones at the end, but if you need a clarification or want me to expand on anything in these slides now, put it in chat, let me know. Okay, so next we'll go on to the press release. Oh, let me turn off this top bar real quick, because now it's in the way. The press release is, here's just two examples. You don't have to read them directly. You can screenshot it if you want. But a press release is not something that you're necessarily sending out to the places that you're pitching. It's more just like a fact sheet. Oh, I don't need these on either. It's more like a fact sheet and your story. It's kind of just your whole business pitch. Why are you interesting? Why is this song interesting? In one nice little one-page document. So I have like a template that I use where it says like, it's completely blank, the template, except for like the title says like this font, this size, and it has my little watermark at the top. It has my picture. I'm logging every time you do it. No! It has, this is just how I lay it out. Different people do it different ways. So it just says like insert picture here, for fans of, insert that here. And then the rest of it is literally on my blank one. It just says paragraph, who, what, where, when, how. The first paragraph should just be kind of the facts. You can have some of the story, but more just like the facts. So if you look at Anna's here on the right, it says DIY artist Anna Wang will release her newest single Ritual on January 31st. So that's what we're talking about. Produced and mixed by Wang. I actually don't know how to say her last name. I think it's Wang. Herself, Ritual is a song about coping with the fear of intimacy, dancing with the pain to a current of pulsing bass and echoing atmospheric vocals. So that's where we kind of talk about, you know, it's still the facts. It's DIY. It's produced and mixed by her herself. But you tell a little bit of the story of like how it's interesting. And then with mine, it's kind of a similar thing. We're talking about releasing the anthem on February 12th. this crying in the club anthem. So that kind of sets the stage. And then I tell a little story. The single finds him reeling from a breakup, using denial to survive the pain. And then it goes again to factual information. The talk is produced by me and Kyle, mixed by this person, mastered by this person. And it's the first single from my next EP. So that's kind of the who, what, why, where, when, whatever of the what are we covering. And I also have 2 different styles. Hi, Juju. We're talking about music marketing. It can be used for any type of marketing, but I just work with music. If I haven't seen it, it's already was taken on Twitter. It's unused. I don't want to kill them. Yeah, no. I mean, having the same social media name is nice, but I think what's more important is having a name that's close. But having the same types of pictures and taglines, so that way when people click around, they can immediately recognize it's you, even if it's not the same name. Like if I called myself Poo Poo Butt, I'm so funny, but I had my same picture, my same links, my same bio, then you could probably tell it's me, even if my name is literally Twitter at it's Poo Poo Butt versus like it's Kisos. I had a flash that developed into how to make Thunder a possible one theory of an episode. How do I well, Juju, it'll be possible at some point. Poo poo butt. Thanks for the shout out. You're so welcome. But yeah, so I mean, you just want to have whatever consistent you can, because I'm Kisos in some places, it's Kisos in others. My website is Kisos Music with a K. So I won't say that it's perfect. But I just try to make it, where the brand is consistent, the header's consistent. People can, if they scroll, they can see. Also, it's pictures of me, and a lot of times, but it's not always. I want it to just be instantly recognizable. Okay, so then paragraph 2 is kind of like the mini bio, the story. Sometimes I put the story up top. Sometimes I put it in the middle. Oh wait, I was talking about the subject lines. Also, ignore the fact that it has like the little cursor. That was just when I was screenshotting it. I didn't realize it was there, and I redid it like twice, because I just kept having issues. I do, James. I mean, it's not like an official company. It's technically just freelance, but I do. It's right here. Oop. It's basically just a splash page. But it's cute. It's nice. It's clean. Hi, Iris. How are ya? So I do different like title lines differently. Sometimes it's nice where I have it with Anna where it's just like new single. So very quickly they're like, okay, what am I getting into? And then we have something a little bit interesting. Invites you to her ritual. What does that mean? I don't know. I want to read more. Or with mine, Kisos uses denial for survival in Heartbreak Anthem. Like you're kind of intrigued, like what does he mean denial for survival? Oh, Heartbreak Anthem. Probably like that they are not broken up, something like that. So something that sets the tone and is factual but isn't totally. Hi, Iro. You know me. And make a million. Honestly, that sounds like a really good idea, Juju. Sounds like it works. Just blast Kisos in your ear. Thank you. Okay, so then going back to this, I know it's kind of cropped weird. I screenshot it. So I kind of do like the where are they from? People want to know where you're from, and they do want to know where you're based. So if you're not from where you're based. So based in Madison, Wisconsin, Wong is a classically trained pianist. This I did a lot more bio than I normally do with Anna because I just thought it was interesting that she had these hearing issues. She had an interesting story with like, not being able to perform in the club scene. So having these hearing issues, and then that led her to go into her room and actually was what kind of gave her that extra push to do her own music. And then I always put something interesting in the end of the second paragraph, like what are your accomplishments, your accolades? If you don't have any yet, think again, you probably do. But if you really, really, really don't, just tell a little bit more of your story, a little bit longer story, or just keep your press release a little bit shorter. Nothing wrong with that. But so here, I said since her debut album, she's performed at this festival, at this TV show, at this conference, and featured in these press outlets, along with a little press quote. And then at the end, ritual, kind of more, for Kisos, I put that here, where I said, like, it's the first single from his upcoming second EP. Then for Anna, I put that at the end. Again, this is not a science. It's more like, okay, the what is in the first place, the why and credentials are in the second paragraph, and then I kind of say like a forward-looking conclusion in the end. So this still applies where saying like this is the first in a series of singles that Wing is plans to release every 3 to 4 months. And then sometimes it's nice to include a quote in there as well of like your inspiration for the song so they can get like that direct connection to you. Gonna play my own game soon, so what own game? What you mean your own game? What? And then at the end, I clipped it off here just because I didn't want you all having my phone number and email. But I do at the end put like for more info, contact my full name, my email, my phone number. I mean, a lot of times they won't need it, but in the off chance that someone like downloads, because sometimes you send this as an attachment, in the off chance that someone downloads this or like forwards it without context, that way they can very easily and quickly get to your information. And then for me, like I haven't done as much as Anna, but I made it sound like I had. I've gotten some press. All of these places are a little bit smaller, but not everyone knows that. So I mentioned what press I got, where I'm from, a nice quote here, and then I bring up Twitch because that's something that differentiates me, and because I can't say I've performed at this massive festival in the United States or this massive conference or this public television show. I say like, hey, Twitch, I performed at TwitchCon. They don't need to know that I wasn't like an official performer. I still performed at TwitchCon. It was affiliated in some way. There's a flyer. I'm not lying. I just might be stretching the truth slightly. And gracing Twitch's front page, which it's not like I was invited specifically to do that, but I was on Twitch's front page as part of the charity performance. And there were like 2,000 people that were watching. So figuring a way to input that in. And then for my forward-looking conclusion, I said like I'll count down to the release with a charity stream because I want part of like social justice issues and charity and giving back to be part of my message that I'm sharing with people. So that's why I specifically mentioned Mr. Holland's Opus and my Twitch channel here and a place where a reason for the people to come to it. Hi Jennison, we'll be doing music in a little bit. We're just kind of doing some music business first. But to sum up a press release, it's basically, like I say right here to the left, a fact sheet with descriptors, but no superlatives or conjecture. So summing up the what, how, and why. So you can give descriptions. You can give descriptions, but you can't say like, oh, he's the best, like the most amazing voice since whatever, or he'll be like the next big thing. It's just kind of, that's empty stuff. You don't need any of that. That's kind of a waste of words when you could be telling more about what you're actually doing, instead of just like making up like, oh, yes, like whatever. Did you trip your face a bit? Trim? I did. I trimmed it a lot because I have some these Polaroids have my single art on them and I needed to look young. I needed to look like the past. Okay, so next up, after the press release, we have the bio. So you need to have a bio somewhere, and you have to think about where you're going to have it. So where is it hosted? Is it hosted on your own site? Is it hosted on an external site? And what I mean by like an external link is thank you, Raga. I just saw your other business queen. Your external site, for example, my Kisos bio is actually on my Miller Place website. I just linked to this, which is what I'm showing right here. And then Anna has her website on her bio, but I just figured I'd show these side by side because this is what an EPK could look like. Something like this where, it has your bio, but it also has link to your website, link to your music, picture. Oh, hi, Jennison's best friend. How you doing? Your best friend. And then you want to think about what media you're going to share along with it. So music, pictures. Doesn't all have to be on here, but make sure, if you only have one picture, you'll probably want to link to more. People want options. It's super informative and easy to follow. Thank you, Press. I have no idea what Udemy is, but I will be saving this video so that I can do something with it. Hi, Conchu. How are you? But yeah, this totally applies to more than just music. It's focused on music because that's what I work in, but you can do this with photography, like Conchu, or any type of art, or even just promoting yourself as a Twitch streamer. I was saying on the podcast earlier, like Dear, Drag Trashly, a bunch of other drag queen broadcasters, they were all featured by The Guardian. Because it's like this interesting thing people want to know about. they're trailblazers, and yeah, that's something that you can do with Twitch. I'm like, okay, gay streamers, gay music streamers, gay brown music streamers. There's a lot of stories that we can have as community. So I will look up Udemy later. I will. Also, if I need to expand on anything, let me know, because I did talk a lot about this on the podcast earlier. So my brain might think that I said something now that I actually said earlier. So if there's anything that's unclear, let me know. Reminder, if you have any questions, it says right here, submit your question with !Q. Just to make sure I don't miss it. And also you can sign up there to let me know if you are interested in signing up for music PR, like consulting group stuff. So balancing the why with the what. So the bio is going to be a longer story, and you're going to need to tell the what probably more, because you already told like the why they should care. This is when they want to know those factual information about you. But they also want something interesting. So I still talk about break your heart and heal your soul. I work my tagline into that. I talk about where I'm from. I talk about, adventurous pop with an R&B edge. It's not just pop. I try to make something different. I go really quickly into my childhood, how I got into music. And then I talk about my first release and some press I got, comparisons. And then a little bit more of what I'm doing now and interesting things about me. So branched out to explore new opportunities, including figure modeling. Not everybody makes music, runs a PR company, is on Twitch, and models naked for college students. I do. So that's something interesting. And we did talk about this earlier. Thinking about, okay, I'm a much smaller Twitch streamer than a lot of people. There's hundreds of thousands of people that are probably bigger than me on Twitch. But how can I make my audience... Like, my audience is not small, and my accomplishments are not small. So how can I frame it in a way that reflects that? So I looked up, since I started streaming, I was like, how many hours of content have people watched? Yeah, it's Rutgers, Newark. You're close, Raga. It's at Rutgers. I've been doing it every semester for a year now. So I only have 666, a few more followers now. I think like 668. And I have average viewers, typically like 10 to 15 at the most. So like I was saying, there's a lot of people that are bigger, but how can I make my numbers sound impressive to someone who doesn't know what Twitch is either? Because a lot of these people at the places you're pitching, yeah, Rutgers, New Jersey. You going there? They don't know what Twitch is. So you have to kind of explain to them in a way too. So I said an audience who has watched over 230 days worth of his content. That sounds pretty crazy. I know, Tammy, I'm a rambler. I get lost sometimes. But so, a lot of P's. I thought you meant PS, as in like PS, because I start one thing and then another. People at the places that you're pitching. Yes, do it, Raga. So thinking about, okay, they've watched 230 days of my content. Sure, bigger streamers might be able to say they've watched 20 years of my content in the last year. But that still sounds impressive to me. I wouldn't say they've watched 1/3 of a year. I would think about metrics that make sense. Hours, that'd probably be too big too. I think it was like, 5,500 hours. That just kind of sounds like, you're like, I don't know what that means. So I broke it down into days. I think it was something like that. And then I mentioned where, again, I performed at TwitchCon. And then I switched it up a little bit from the press release and gave a number to an audience of 2,000 concurrent viewers, instead of saying I just, raised money on the front page. Because it frames it a little bit more again. And then I ended it with, kind of the forward-looking what's happening next. Upcoming EP, here's what it's about, and here's when it's coming. So that's what I'm talking about here, about what is interesting about you as a person. Because people don't want to know just about your music. They want to know about who you are. If you think about your friends, you don't know just one side of them. You know a lot of them. Like, you know a lot of them. You know what I mean? You know them as a friend, as a musician, as a worker, as, someone who loves fitness, or someone who loves this, whatever. You're seeing a younger Kisos? Yeah, I kind of missed having less facial hair. Facial hair was kind of creeping me out. But I'm not against it. I'm not against having facial hair. It's just kind of nice to be I feel fresh again. And you want to think about where you're going to have, it's not enough anymore to be good at what you do most of the time. Yeah, I mean, also, to some degree, it's like, yeah, you're good, so what? Because so many people are good. So many people are good. So many people are, like, just doing things that I could never do. But that doesn't mean that I don't deserve attention. But you have to realize that everyone, this is something I said during the podcast, like, people who are covering you, they're doing their own work too. You know, they want to support their friends. Everyone wants to support their friends. So it's all about, you know, it is about relationships, but creating genuine relationships and not just expecting someone to cover you or do something for you because you're talented, because everyone's talented. I'll get a little rated R here. It's like when people brag about, you know, having a big ding dong. It's like, okay. Or you brag about being hot or fit. It's like, okay, yes. And, like, a lot of people got that. Maybe not the majority, but, like, you just have to make yourself stand out with something real. What are those qualities you speak of? Okay, but also you want to have different bios catered to different sites. Not necessarily, like, they can be very similar, but you just want to make sure that if something calls for something different, yeah, but what can it do for me? You have a great ding dong, but what can it do for me? You're not the only one. Like, there's billions of people on the earth. Hello? Half the people in the world have a ding dong. Anyway, so, like, if you have your bio on Last FM, it's probably going to be more Wikipedia than if you have, like, a bio type of thing on your Spotify about versus, you know, on your site versus, you know, a description on Genius, where, you know, it might be kind of more like a social media bio mixed into, you know, a more traditional bio format. So think about those things. I'm hot, bio done. I'm cute. I'm great. Okay, so we'll kind of go over the pitch here. So here's a couple of examples of pitches, again with me and Anna. So your pitch kind of mashes up your press release and your bio into, as I wrote here, the most engaging, emotionally appealing story you can. And you really want it to be brief, but not so brief that they don't have any idea what you're talking about. You just want to make sure you hit the points, you hit the story, and then if they want more info, they can go for it. You don't want them to get bogged down by that whole press release. No one's going to read your 3-paragraph press release. You could have an amazing track, but no one's going to read that. And they'll probably they'll either click out of it and just be like, this is overwhelming, or they'll just click your music, say they like it, and not read your press release anyway, and they'll just go, or then afterwards they'll be like, oh, now I'll read it. But a lot of times it's like, they're not going to sift through. Again, I said this on the podcast, but yeah, personality is so important. So this on the podcast, but people that you're pitching, they're getting hundreds of pitches a day. How is your pitch going to stand out? By being short, sweet, to the point, having a good subject line, which we'll talk about in a little bit, but also by having relationships, trying to create these relationships. Because if someone knows me, they're going to open my email. They might not cover my artist, they might not respond, but they're much more likely to at least give it a chance. Because again, if some random person hits you up on Instagram in the DM and is like, hey, let's smash, you're going to be like, ew, no. But if your friend says, let's hang out, obviously those are two different things, like innocently hanging out. If your friend says, hey, let's hang out, okay, I'll be doing music soon, Jennison, bye. If you're just hanging out with your friend, like someone you know, obviously you're going to respond to, or if it's like an acquaintance that is inviting you somewhere versus like a friend, you'll be like, oh, hey, sorry, like I have plans with a friend, you know? Like chances are you're not going to pick this person you've met once, even if you like them. You'd rather hang out with the person, whatever. Can't always give real life examples because sometimes you just don't want to do anything in real life. But you know what I mean. Okay. Is there in 2019, and if yes, what is it compared to Instagram? Oh, email is so relevant. Put that in the little form. We'll get to that at the Q&A, just so I can get through. I think I only have like a couple more slides, like one or two. So, subject lines. When I was first in PR, they were like, just do a subject line of like, indie pop artist releases, Kisos releases, new song, new single, happily ever after. Or like, featured by Billboard, soulful artist Kisos releases new single, happily ever after. But I realized very quickly after starting my own firm that I was like, that is so boring. I gotta do something more interesting. Thank you, Raga, for your bits. Miller Place is the street I grew up on, so that's how I came up with the name Ross. But that's my company. So once I realized, okay, you know what? I need to make these headlines not clickbait, because they're not bait, but I need to make them kind of a little more sensational. Because that's what media is nowadays. Like, it's more subject lines and headlines, they have more personality. It's not just the facts up there anymore. It's very much like there's an emotional attachment to it. Miller Place Collective? Yes, that's my company. So I remember one of the first ones I did, actually the very first video that I released, with one of my clients. His name's Io in Motion. He's on my playlist. Oh, Raga! Thank you for all the bits, baby. I appreciate it. He had this really great, it was a kind of a social justice video. It wasn't fully music. It was kind of more like a short film video, more like a spoken word. It was protesting police brutality. It came out, we released it on Martin Luther King Day, or we wanted to. And I was, just kind of pitching like, oh, outrage on the front page, video, protesting police brutality. No one was really responding. So I was like, okay, let's go full BuzzFeed on them. And I said, it was also right when Trump had gotten elected. What's the word? Instated? Not that. I can't think of it. But y'all know what I mean. It was right when he was confirmed, whatever, the full ceremony. So I was like, and obviously a lot of people were not happy about that. Most people are not happy about that. That was a very a very fiery topic. Trump and Black History Month coming up and MLK. So I made my subject line something like, our protests against the Trump administration mean nothing, ... Someone getting that's going to be like, what? First of all, of course they mean something. Second of all, what is this about? And then they open it, and then I had another one that said like ... unless we protest every single day. Not you, Trumping. Yes, inauguration. Thank you. Oh, I thought you were saying because I was talking about Trump that I was talking about you. No. Just hello. So, that was like a very clickbait thing. And then from there I went into the pitch, like, unless we protest every single day. IO in Motion releasing this new video. And I got a response the next day, or maybe even the same day. I don't remember. And they were like, yes, Afropunk, we want to cover this. Afropunk, if you haven't heard, is a huge music site and features a ton of Black creators, African American creators, African creators. And they have festivals in Johannesburg and New York, and I think, do they do one in Georgia? I don't know. But they have festivals all over the world. It's a huge site, a huge site. And no one was responding before, but then when I pitched them again with that subject line, right away. So I don't always go full clickbait mode. A lot of times it's something more like this, which is like a more expected subject line, but more interesting. Because again, that also tells your story. You always want to be telling your story in everything that you're doing. You want it to have that emotional appeal. You don't want it to just be like the facts. A press release, even the press release isn't just the facts. So then, that's my bot. So follow-up etiquette. When you're pitching these people, you want to be pitching them by email. You do not want to pitch anyone by Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. At most, I would say, if you're on Twitter and you have a connection with someone, you can ask them for their email. But other than that, do not. Do not. I won't say there's times that it hasn't worked. There are times where it has worked, where someone has pitched someone online like that and, just gotten a great story. Most of the time, it will be a negative. You could get blacklisted. Like, you could get completely blocked by this person forever. So do not do that. Find their email. If you really cannot find their email, get to know them and then ask them politely. Say like, hey, I noticed you cover a lot of this stuff. I have something I think you'd be interested in. What's a good email to reach you at? So following up, after you pitch them, I typically wait like a week, sometimes at least 3 business days to follow up with a much shorter email than these first examples and just say, hi, did you have a chance to listen? Like, and then maybe another little blurb about something new or interesting. Yeah, so you can see like here's like, I'm talking about this stuff. Maybe I'll say, I don't know, something new. Or I just say like, hey, just wanted to see if you had a chance to check in. Let me know your thoughts. Let me know if you want to feature it. Thank you for your time. It is, yes, exactly, Iris. Thank you. It's not. I mean, I put music marketing just because I figured that's the sexiest thing. I really did not know what to title this. If anyone has suggestions on what to title this next time or anything like that, please let me know. Also, for anyone looking out there, hello. My name's Kisos. I'm a music streamer, gaming streamer. I'm always getting on stream. And I run a music PR business. Well, PR business, but it's mostly music focused, and I only work with artists who identify as LGBT or are people of color. You don't have to be both, just at least one. Just because there's so many companies out there that don't understand us. So I do, at least to some degree. Anyway, so following up, I typically, I wait a certain amount of days. I keep it short. I keep it sweet. Maybe I'll follow up a third time if there's something exciting that has happened, like, oh, hey, that song I was writing to you about actually just, got picked up by this TV show, or, Billboard, or, this artist is now going to open up for this big artist. I thought maybe you'd be interested in that. Thank you, Tammy. Like, I thought maybe you'd be interested in that, blah, blah, blah. So yes, I would say typically following up once is it's hard to say. It's hard to say. I would say don't follow up more than twice ever. Some people will get annoyed at following up once, but it's normal to follow. I mean, more than once, but it's normal. It's normal to follow up. It's your job as someone promoting your music to, be politely persistent. And, again, because they're getting all of these pitches a day, they might have seen yours and been like, oh, I'll get to it, and then forgotten. And then you check in with them again, and they're like, oh, I'll listen to it, but I like this, but I don't have time to respond right now. And maybe they really did want to respond, and then you follow up that last time, and they're like, yes, I'm so sorry it took me so long to get back to you. That does happen. So you just have to be really mindful, be respectful. A lot of blogs, magazines, those types of things will say, their preferences. Like, do you want to, they don't, I don't know why I said do you want to. They'll have their preferences of, like, here's how I want to be pitched. Send me this, I want this in the subject line, these type of links, and only follow up with me once it's been a week. Or don't follow up with me at all because it just makes it harder for me to get through my emails. If you follow up with me, you'll be added to spam. So just make sure that you're looking at, whatever you can with these different blogs, magazines, figuring out any info that has to do with that. If you can't find any, I say don't follow up more than 2 times, ever. Unless something really crazy happens, like really crazy. You're like, I am opening up for Britney Spears tomorrow, and she is at my house right now. Here's a picture of us. Something like that. But in that case, it'd probably be a new story that you'd pitch instead of like following up again and again. But also, I will say, follow up on the same thread. Don't send them a different email. Follow up on the same thread so it stays connected at the very least. And I wrote mass emailing right up here as well. Sometimes it is really good to do a more customized pitch. And sometimes it's worth saving time and kind of segmenting by, groups of blogs that are interested in like music. Oh, they're more covering like women. They're more covering LGBT. They might be interested in me being a figure model and my music. They might be more interested in like the geeky side, the gaming side with my music. So kind of breaking it up like that. If you're gonna mass message, still try to segment it and put things together in a way that makes it more customized and more individualized, so that when you're reaching out to someone, it's not just like, hi, here's my music. It's like, okay, hi, I know that you cover this type of thing. Even if you're sending the same email to 20 people. Hi, I loved I love that you know, are so interested in supporting gamers who make music. Here is, you know, my experience with that. I go on Twitch, I do music, blah, 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 something like that. I just coming up with it off the top of my head. So you can see I did a little bit of that here with this one that I sent to Billboard. Actually, this one was not a mail merge, but it was also not a, it wasn't like super, I know him in real life though, so I didn't like super cater it. But I did say the pantheon of queer talent. So I specifically mentioned queer. That is an indicator that I know what I'm pitching him for. He runs Billboard Pride, which is the Pride, the LGBT like subgenre niche of Billboard. So I mentioned that. And then, for example, with this, for Anna, I really didn't cater it at all. This was more just like a traditional music blog pitch. These were specifically to smaller blogs that I knew would be okay, just kind of instinctually. I'll say it was a learned I knew it. That would be okay with me just giving them this more generic press release. But this press release did get picked up. This person, Lee, covered her song. So just making sure, like, okay, what I just want to, you know, again, short and sweet to the point. You can see it's this Anna one is longer. Probably like as long as I would say, don't go much longer than this if you can help it. Make sure that you're linking your music. Make sure that you are linking your social media. Make sure you are linking a way for them to find out more about you, which is the bio I have here or her website down here. Make sure that all of your links work. Check over and over and over again. I made a mistake actually when I pitched Patrick at Billboard. I checked my link and it worked, but it worked for me only because it was on private and I shared the link to it, but it wasn't. There's a private share link on SoundCloud, which is what you want to send when you're pitching places. You'll go to your little track, you'll hit share, and then it'll give you like your URL followed by like TG87Q or something. And that little extra code is what lets other people listen to it. I wasn't thinking, and because I hadn't pitched myself in so long, because when my artists send me the link, I automatically know if it's done properly or not, because I'm not logged into their SoundCloud. The issue was I was logged into my SoundCloud, so I was like, oh, clicking the link, it's not showing up as private, it's showing up perfectly for me, but that's because I'm logged in. I have permission to see it, but I was the only one. So he was like, I can't see it. Also, we're only covering music videos for premieres, but send it again. I was like, oh, thank God for your mercy, Patrick. Thank God. Thank you for responding. But yeah, so that's what I'm saying. Tailor pitch to different types of outlets, even if it's just a little bit. What I was saying on the podcast earlier too is if you're doing mass emailing, I use yet another mail merge. I'm gonna write it in chat right now. Oops. It basically lets you. You can customize. So for example, this one with Lee was customized just with first names. I put in a little code into this Google program. You can sync it to your Excel spreadsheet, not playlist. You can sync it to your spreadsheets, and then you'll put in a little code, and then it'll correspond to the different the different spots in your spreadsheet, like the column or the cell. Corresponds to the different cells in your spreadsheet. So that way when I put in my code, which is like $% first space name %, it will automatically fill it in the column that is named first name in my Excel sheet. So I can send 20 emails at once. It'll have all of their names included in there instead of just like, hi there. And I do try to research and find names as much as I can, because that's really what sets you apart. Even if you're going to send a basic email to everyone, at least get their name. If nothing else, get their name. You can't always find it, but make that a priority. And what I've done before too is like to go to, say, I said this on the podcast, where I'll go to a blog or I'll go to like 10 blogs that have covered this artist, where I'm like, oh, that song sounds like the song, you know, a more indie artist, like something current that they had just covered. So if I like go to these blogs, I'm like, oh, these 10 people have covered this song that sounds like my artist's song. I'm going to create a mail merge, a mass email for these 10 people and have it autofill their first name and also say like, you know, I saw that you covered blank by this artist. I saw that you covered Ritual by Anna Wang. I think you would really like Happily Ever After by Kisos. Everyone had sent an email to marks it as spam. I'm always paranoid people are marking my emails as spam. But that's the more professional way to go about it, because a lot of times people don't check their DMs, especially bigger people. Or it kind of just looks a little bit more hungry instead of professional a lot of the times. Some people prefer to be reached out to on social media. And again, it goes back to figuring out what people want. So yeah, that's kind of it with mass emailing. If you're going to do a mass email, at least find their name. Think about how you can segment it and make it a little more customized. So instead of sending 100 people the same email, you're, breaking it up into 30, 30, 40. You're sending 30 people this email, 30 people this email, and 40 people that email. Where it just makes it a little more likely that you're going to connect with them on a more personal level. Okay, next, we're almost done. I think this is the last one. Okay, so how do you find the right publications? Because how do you even know how to pitch? Like, you have your press release, you have your bio, you have all this stuff. Now what? Okay, so yes, you can find the editor at Pitchfork, Billboard, Rolling Stone, Consequence of Sound, any of those places. But chances are your social following isn't enough, so they probably won't cover you. But more than that, you don't have enough story around you. They're worried you're not going to be able to drive clicks to them. Or you're just not a name. Again, it does come back to clicks. All of these people that are covering you, well, the bigger names are doing it for the bottom line. The bigger names are businesses. A lot of blogs are people doing it in their off time. They have a 9 to 5 and then they're doing this blog from 6 to 10. So again, also really respect their time because they are working so hard for you. They don't have time to respond to your email. You have to respect that. Just on their side a little bit. But so these bigger places are typically not going to respond to you or pay attention. Billboard Pride is growing. They're interested in covering smaller indie artists as long as they have the right branding, as long as they have a video, because for them, that's what drives traffic. They need that instead of just audio, because audio is like, I don't care. People don't care as much. But most of the time, you're not going to get these places right off the bat. The artists that you see covered in there, they've been doing press for a long time. The artists that you see on, like The Tonight Show, that's not their first gig. They've been covered a lot. And it wasn't just by chance. They've had publicists or they've been doing it DIY. So the way to start building that reputation is to go to these smaller and mid-level tastemaker blogs, magazines that are known for covering good music, but just don't have as big of a platform because they're one person instead of $1 million company, multi-million-dollar company. Or, sometimes they're not, sometimes they're small and influential. Like sometimes a small blog with a few thousand followers will influence something like Spotify or Billboard. But a lot of times it's just someone who's doing this for fun. And just because they're not bringing as much attention back to you doesn't mean that they don't deserve your support and they don't deserve to be loved, because they're doing you a favor. They did not have to cover you. You are owed nothing. And you can be nothing if you don't thank them. Anyway, so here's how I typically go about finding, artists that I can compare to my own artists and say like, oh, these blogs are covering this person, they'd be interested in covering mine. Or just expanding, well, I've gone through a lot of these at this point, but how I kind of jump-started finding the huge, hundreds of blogs that I now have in my database. I use SubmitHub, which is this top one right here, submithub.com. This is specifically for music, these websites. So submithub.com is a place where you can send your music in and pitch it for $1. You can see right here, they have a $sign. It goes from $1 to $3. Most are $1. You have to do your research and see some of these blogs aren't worth getting on because they will literally just cover anyone and just copy paste your press release. They don't care about you. They're just trying to exist or like make money from it, which is strange because it's still so much work. But you can go to SubmitHub right now, look at their list of hundreds of blogs, sort by your genre, and come up with a list of at least like 50 that would be interested in covering your music. Then from there, You can take those artists, see who else is covering them, add those to your database. Or you can go to Hype Machine. Hype Machine, I believe, is hypem.com. I was talking about this on the podcast as well. It's a group of like 600 sites that are handpicked by Hype Machine. It's been around for a long time. It's not as influential as it used to be, but it's still a very like badge of honor to be included on this site. They're the more checked blogs for sure, more influential. And again, you can sort it by genre and then go to their blog and see what types of artists they're covering. And then I also say that sometimes it's nice to go to PR companies. It's nice to, if you know of them, go to their social media and see like who they're retweeting, see who they're following, and that'll give you an idea as well, as long as you can tell their artists match up with your music. So I say at the end here, just go down a rabbit hole, like just keep clicking. When you follow one blog, it'll suggest you more. So then look at those blogs and then see like, oh, this one fits, follow them. It'll show you more. Who are all the artists that they're covering? Go to those artists and see who's covering them. It's just going back and forth, back and forth. And if you really do want if you think you're ready to get a big thing like Billboard, Huffington Post, or something like that, but they're not responding, but you think you're like on their level, you can also try to find the more niche departments. I didn't know what to call it, but like I was saying, like Billboard Pride. Like Billboard there's no chance they would cover me. Billboard Pride, very likely. Huffington Post, no way. Huffington Post Queer Voices, maybe. So if you're like LGBT or, a woman or like a person of color, a lot of these bigger places will have something more specifically tailored to you. And again, it's not just about pitching music blogs. It's not. You can sometimes have a lot more success by pitching things that are less expected, because it's a more exciting feature for everyone. Like if I was featured in something for figure modeling and also about music, all those people would be like, oh, this is so interesting. Instead of just like, oh, we always see music content on this music site. So think about everything that's in your story, not just your music, not just your art or whatever you're creating. Okay, yeah, that's the end. So if anyone has questions, I'm gonna look at that little doc right now and see what people said. But again, do not get discouraged, because people will not respond to you. They won't. They just won't respond to you. Once in a while, they'll say pass. Once in a while, they'll say, yes, I'd love to cover this. That's amazing. If you use Submit Hub, you can get guaranteed responses. If you don't get a response, they'll refund your money, which is great. I was telling in the podcast earlier, a lot of times, though, the feedback is very contradictory. Like some people will be like, oh, the vocals were amazing, but I hated the instrumental. And other times they'll be like, the instrumental was like so serene, but your vocals sounded like trash. So you just also have to, I mean, it's a creative industry. You have to learn how to take no's. You have to learn how to take criticism, even if it isn't constructive criticism. You can't let yourself get beat down. We all do. We all feel that self-doubt, but you have to just remember it's not a reflection of you. It's literally one person's opinion. And there are so many other opinions. There's 7 billion other opinions that you could have. Yes, sometimes one opinion is more important in a sense because they're a gatekeeper to you reaching more people or getting more influence. But one no doesn't mean no forever. So remember that. Publicity is a game of patience and persistence. Polite persistence. And then next week we're going to go over, too funny, two produced, not produced enough. Yes, it's very frustrating. I had like PTSD when I released what's now my most popular song on Spotify, and it's the one that everyone tells me the most they love it. But when I did on Submit Hub, De-Atomize, everyone was like, he needs work on his voice, he needs work on the track, the girl sounds good, he doesn't, like all of this stuff. And I was just like, wow, I really loved this. I thought it was pretty good. Like, I know I'm not the best at producing, I'm still learning, but they really just shat on me. Like, maybe I can't sing, maybe this shit was trash. And then when I just shared it with more and more people, they were like friends, they were like, oh my God, I love this. This is so good. And then kind of organically, funnily enough, as I just promoted myself more people picked it up. Like some press did just pick it up out of the blue. And I was like, wow. Or like when I released my EP, that was the song that they featured. It wasn't the one that I actually pitched them. They were like, that one was nice, but De-Atomize is really good. We're going to do that one. So if you have any questions, the link is right here. I'm just going to look at what you all are saying. I don't know how different everyone's opinion is. It is. It does. It does. I mean, first of all, these people aren't professional music critics. And the ones who are, it's like, still, it's still an opinion. I mean, sometimes it's based on, is this more interesting than something else? But you don't have to make something that's totally unique to be good. You don't have to be totally different to be good and deserve coverage, So, but a lot of people, that's all they're looking for, something like that's never been heard before. Just don't cater it to them. You don't need to. Okay, I'm gonna go do the. I'm just gonna go to music. So let me look at what has been submitted question-wise, or if there was anything said in chat that I missed. Levi, the only question. Can your hands be too small to play guitar? I feel like mine are. Yes, but you can get like a really good child's guitar. Okay, I'm gonna start music soon, Oe. But yeah, if you have any questions right now, anything that you were thinking, I know Conchu was talking about email. I would say email, yes, is like the way to go. Yeah, just because journalists and a lot of that, some people play guitar with their feet, so no excuses. A foot is bigger than a hand, right? In most cases. Yes. You could. I want to see that. I've never seen that. But toe span. Oh, true. Definitely not as. I'm very interested. I probably won't watch that on. I feel like I'll get banned if I watch toe guitar. What motivates you in times of discouragement? That's a good question because I'm always stressed and discouraged. I need other people. I really need other people. I won't say that I'm not anything. I'm trying to have a different mindset, but I have a hard time. I have a very hard time with keeping myself accountable, keeping myself motivated. And sometimes I don't feel the love for the craft. Like I like making music, but I'm like, well, I could take it or leave it. I could do anything in life. I could be successful with pretty much anything. So why music? Why this? Yeah, like the love of the craft doesn't always keep me going. If that keeps you going, then that's great. As long as you know. But for me, it's like, okay, what keeps me going is encouragement. I need a lot of encouragement from other people. Like, that's why Twitch has been such an important part of my musical journey. Because I've never had so many people so invested in my success and like waiting for the new music to come out and asking about it. So I have a lot of updates. I'm excited to share things with people. Other than that, it's just I've worked really hard and also gone to a lot of therapy to learn that everything I do is enough and everything I do is good. Whether it sounds good or not, I put my effort and energy into it. That's something that's helping me grow, whether it releases or not. No matter what, it is something that has helped me grow. So, thank you, Tammy. It's just you gotta make sure, you gotta keep yourself. Like, I'll be in the shower, I'll sit in the shower like, okay, you are good at your job, you are good at music, you make good music, there's a reason people share it. Just like you have nothing to worry about, you have nothing to stress about. Stop feeling like you have to do everything and just do what you can when you can. But I also try to, put a little bow up on myself. Yeah, self-awareness is super important. Put a little bow up on myself because I do want to, reach certain levels before I'm certain ages. I'm not going to say 30's old at all. It ain't. But, I feel like it's kind of one of those times when you're like, I'm 30. It's a time you look back and think about, okay, what have I done so far? And if all I have done is released this one song when I could have done so much more, I just wasted my own time because I wasn't motivated. It's like, okay. I'm also motivated by guilt, which is not healthy. Not healthy at all. Guilt and shame, terrible motivators. Try to avoid that as much as you can because it's like a stressful motivation. Um, but yeah, I mean, just I take breaks. I let myself take breaks. I try not to worry about if I haven't done enough. I try to think about, okay, you know what? Maybe I didn't do so great today, but what can I do different so that I feel better about tomorrow and less anxious? You know, two personally, I'd rather watch a stream because I get anxious about failure. Yeah, exactly. I get really anxious with my clients. I get really anxious because this is something that someone is spending so much money on, so much time. I can relate very, very directly to what's going on. So I feel like if I'm not getting them these stories, if I'm not getting them this attention, it's my fault. I'm terrible. I'm wasting their money. Even though I deserve, to be compensated for the work. Even if, I'm pitching, this hasn't happened, but even if, I'm pitching someone for a month and we get absolutely no results, nobody covers it, I still deserve to be paid because I put in that work. It doesn't make me a bad publicist, or anything like that. But that's something I struggled with a lot that I've worked on. And same with music. You expect your music to do great things, but if it doesn't, you can't blame yourself. It doesn't mean it was a bad song. Sure, maybe quality-wise it wasn't up to par or it wasn't as professional, but that doesn't mean you should be down on yourself because you still created something beautiful that didn't exist in this world before. Not everyone is creating. Being able to create something is amazing. You are bringing something that did not exist ever, anywhere in the history of anything. And you made it. You made something new. That's kind of cool in that way. I've really never thought of that. I mean, that is interesting when people say, like God is in everything. It's interesting to think of it in that way because if, not to get too spiritual or talk about religious beliefs, I'm just talking about in kind of a theological way. If God is in everything and God is the creator of everything, then we are all gods in our own way, creating our own everything. Like we're creators. We're all gods. Sounds kind of presumptuous, but it's just something to think about. Especially in a job that is not only about your professionalism, but also luck. Being seen or get someone to be seen is not just about how many because you might promote everyone who pays you the same amount. Yeah, it's true. It's true. It depends on their work. It depends on their pictures. It depends on, not only when you're pitching, it's not just about is your stuff good enough? It's also about does this editor have time? Maybe they're just too busy. Maybe they would have loved to cover you, but they're having a family emergency. The person on the other end it's really important to remember that it's a person on the other end. It's not a company, it's not a business. It's like a 20 to 27-year-old to 35-year-old to 58-year-old music lover who's there, who is just trying to support as many people as they can while also fitting into the parameters of their blog, what they're interested in, and what their life allows. So, yeah, I mean, that's something I had to learn a lot about Khonshu was like, when I would raise my rates too, it was like, do I deserve more money? It's like, yes, because you are killing yourself. You are working so many hours just to get some responses for them, like to get some coverage. You deserve to be paid for this extra work that you're putting in because right now you are undercharging. But I couldn't hear that from myself. I couldn't snap out of it. Okay, to the religion of Kisos. Thank you. Thank you, Raga. So, yeah. There's a lot. I love talking about it. We're going to be doing this series at 3 p.m. every Sunday. It'll probably last about an hour. I think we went like an hour and 10 minutes today because we started a little later because we did the podcast before. Where you got paid the amount you want to be paid. Yeah, here's the thing. You also need to ask for what you deserve because someone doesn't deserve your work if they're not paying for your work. If they're not paying your rate, they don't deserve it. What I do, it's a different thing if, someone's like, I can't pay $1,500 a month. I'm just going to be like, okay, bye. It's like, okay, what can we do? I've worked with artists for as little as $250 for a month. But I just do different things, I'm not writing them this full press release. I'm not doing that or that. Or, I'm writing the press release, but I'm not sending it to all these places. It's like, okay, we'll pick these places to hit. I'm going to write you your press release. I'm going to write you this. I'm going to give you this pitch that you can use for yourself, in the future. I'm just going to try to get it started for you and, summarize some trends maybe or ideas around your music or your art that you can use to make your job a little bit easier if you're going to do it yourself. But yeah, I mean, most publicists don't say their rate. I say my rate is $1,500 if you want everything. If you can't afford that, I will love to figure out something else we can do for a lower rate, because I'm poor as hell. I understand what it is to not have money. But if you want my full time, you will pay my full rate. I deserve it. Because you spend tons of money on equipment, you put in so much work, you tell yourself you know you're worth, but the longer no one books your page, you get more okay, wish with less. Yeah, I mean, that's true too. I mean, I still take compromises. I still undersell myself. But it's also a thing of, you know, at first people wouldn't have paid attention to me if I was doing that right off the bat. I did have to build up a resume. I started out just charging $500 a month. And then I built a resume, getting people on Huffington Post, Paper Magazine, Billboard, and all these places. And I was like, okay, let me charge $800. And then I make the next person go viral. I'm like, okay, let me charge $1,500. It was also nice to talk to someone else that was in PR and be like, just bouncing ideas and hearing about their process and hearing about their rate, and getting encouragement from them, to like sending them work and them being like, you're doing great. You definitely need to be charging more. And me being like, okay, $1,500 is still low by a lot of people's standards, which is crazy. I can't imagine. I can't ask for more. I would never. Anyway, any last questions? Oh. So yeah, next week's gonna be a little more specific to music, but it'll still have some good ideas for everyone.